Once upon a time in a small village in Ghana, there lived a young and beautiful lady named Amma. Amma's beauty was captivating, her dark skin shimmered like polished ebony, and her deep brown eyes were like two pools of warmth and kindness. But beyond her physical beauty, Amma had a heart full of love for God. From a very young age, she dedicated her life to serving Him with honesty and devotion. Amma came from a humble family, and while many of her peers spent their time chasing material wealth or romantic relationships, she spent her days in prayer, studying the scriptures, and helping the less fortunate in her community. She was often found teaching children in the village about God's word, visiting the sick, or volunteering at her church. Amma's peers, however, did not share her values. Many of the young women in the village mocked her, seeing her devotion as a waste of time. They spent their days gossiping, chasing after wealthy men, and enjoying the fleeting pleasures of life. "Look at Amma," they would say with sneers, "so beautiful, yet she wastes her beauty on God. No man will ever marry her because she's too busy being holy." They humiliated her, spreading rumors that she was only pretending to be pious to gain attention. Despite the ridicule, Amma never wavered in her faith. She knew her heart belonged to God, and she trusted that He had a plan for her. "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake," she would often whisper to herself, finding strength in the scriptures. Years passed, and Amma's peers began to marry, one after another. Some married wealthy men from the city, others found men who promised them the world, but not all found happiness. Some of her old friends returned to the village, bitter and disappointed by the broken promises and heartache that followed their marriages. But still, they mocked Amma, reminding her that she was unmarried and alone. One day, an American man named Jack arrived in the village. Jack was a welder, skilled with his hands, and had traveled to Ghana to work on a local infrastructure project. He was a simple man, but one with a heart full of kindness. Though he came from a different world, he found himself drawn to the culture, the people, and most of all, to Amma. Jack first met Amma when he visited her church, curious about the local faith practices. He was immediately struck by her beauty, but even more so by her gentle spirit and her unwavering devotion to God. Over the course of several months, they became friends. Jack admired Amma's honesty, her dedication, and her love for others. Unlike the men in the village, who valued wealth and status, Jack valued Amma's heart. It wasn't long before Jack realized he was in love with her. He admired her resilience in the face of ridicule and her commitment to living a life of service. Amma, too, found herself drawn to Jack's humility and kindness. He didn't treat her like an object of beauty, but as a partner in faith and purpose. When Jack asked Amma to marry him, the news spread quickly through the village. Many of her old peers were stunned. How could Amma, the one we mocked and humiliated, be the one to marry a good man from America? They whispered, "She, who we said would end up alone, is now the one with the happiest future." Amma and Jack's wedding was simple but beautiful, held in the same church where Amma had spent so many years serving. As they exchanged vows, Amma couldn't help but feel a deep sense of peace and joy. Her faithfulness had not been in vain, and God had indeed had a plan for her all along. After their wedding, Amma and Jack moved to the United States, where Jack continued his work as a welder, and Amma began a new chapter of her life, spreading God's love in her new community. Together, they built a life full of love, faith, and service. The same women who had once mocked Amma would later look back and realize the strength of her faith and the reward that came from her unwavering dedication.